the South and the North came back together long after, essentially it had been resolved as a nation. Are there parallels? I'm sure there are. I mean, I know that clearly there was the whole debate within the church about, the fact that the Bible, in essence, just takes for granted that there's slavery. It's not so much that it says a whole lot about it, but it just sort of takes it for granted that it exists and that it's kind of okay and people do it. Both, I think, the Old Testament and the New Testament. So I don't really know. I mean, I haven't read historically like what were the arguments that were made, but I do know that people, took sides, and eventually the church split over that. And at this point, our church, well, we could have a split in a couple of weeks, actually. It's very possible. I don't know what kind of a split it will be, but I think we are dealing with a very similar kind of, very emotional kind of gut level thing, where people, a lot of times I think they think that they're defending, the true reading of Scripture, but it's partly because they're not allowing other kinds of interpretations to really challenge them, or to, they're just looking at it in a certain way. So, anything else more?
Mark, maybe is there maybe some parallels that we could have learned from the divorce issue and with divorced pastors and this type of thing, and then also women as in the Christian. How was that?
These are all things that the church has had to wrestle with. We've come out in different places. Obviously, there's lots of churches today that still don't really have women in leadership, in pastoral leadership in the church. But our church we had to kind of go through that back maybe 40 some years ago, 45 years ago. And it's a matter of interpretation, because there are things that you can pull from Scripture that say, women should be silent, women shouldn't have leadership over men, or whatever. But if you're just gonna read it literally, then sure, you can read all kinds of words from Scripture as kind of a battle axe. Or you can say, what is the context of this, and what are some other ways of looking at this, and is this really something that we believe, based on our whole reading of Scripture and based on what Frank presented up here? Is this really something that we think God wills? And if you really question some passages like that, now divorce I think is maybe a little different. I think. I don't know that there was ever a division in the church. I think somehow, somewhere along the way, divorce just sort of became more acceptable, and the church kind of went along with that and said that it's okay.
So from what I've read and heard, it was worse for people that try to argue against slavery at the time, because there are multiple passages. I mean, more than 6 or 7 clobber passages about slavery. I mean, the whole letter of Philemon, where Paul encourages a slave to go back to his master and serve him as a slave, and that sort of thing. I mean, how do you argue against that, right? If you're a literalist, I mean, you have all the battle axes you need, right there. And so it was very, very difficult for more forward-thinking Christians, or I assume in other religions as well, for more progressive and tolerant people to make an argument, as you said, that, overall, if you take the sum of the scriptures, the purpose of the divine purpose behind it, it was very difficult for them. And at first they didn't succeed. It took the church, 200 years to get back together. So it is very difficult. I mean, it goes back to that epistemological divide. We still struggle with that after all this time. So there's one quote actually I wanted to read earlier that the founder of our church, John Wesley, said, and it sounds like something that you could live by, but when you actually look at it, you will discover it is not that easy. So he said these words. He said, "Though we cannot think alike, may we not love alike? May we not be of one heart, though we are not of one opinion?" But the problem is that we're not talking about opinions. What we're talking about is deep convictions on both sides. So somebody who reads the scripture literally, they come across passages like, I don't even know what they do with slavery passages now, to be honest with you. So they must turn a blind eye to them. But then they come across these passages, these clobber passages that seemingly talk about homosexuality. And so then they think, oh my gosh, there it is. It's in the Bible, so it's a sin. So we can't allow for gay marriage. And to them it's a sin. And so it becomes a matter of conscience and conviction for them. And on the other side, on the progressive side, our conviction is that the sin is in discriminating against people that are LGBTQ+. And so we point out that sin because obviously there's a strong argument that can be made for that as well. And so it's not opinion. If it were a matter of opinion, everybody has a different opinion about things. We could live with that. But this is deeper than opinions. This is a deep conviction. This goes back to the epistemological issue. How do we know that we know? How do we know the truth? That's the question that it goes back to. And that has divided us forever. And I don't anticipate that to change. Unfortunately. So what I see in the stars for the United Methodist Church is a division.
Yeah, we need to start winding down, but go ahead, Paige.
On a positive note, though, I think surveys are indicating that younger Christians are more open, even evangelical Christians. So I think that the generation coming up, I think we're going to see the change.
That would be nice.
Just have to wait for them all to die. But I wanted to say one thing, and then we need to move toward closure here. I do think, going back to what Jerry was saying, that it's through the personal connections. Like when you love someone and can acknowledge that love, it begins to crack things open for people. And they come back to the importance of being able to tell our stories and to talk about things like almost losing your son and how heartbreaking that is, and to empathize with the pain that young people are going through. And if you're a parent, I think it's an entry point. It's a very, very powerful entry point. And you hear stories all the time of parents being transformed. Gosh, I loved them 5 minutes ago when they were straight, and now that I know that they're not, I still love them. And what do you do with that? So I think love is a real key. So what I'm going to invite us to do for just a few minutes, and I'm going to pay attention that right around 8:30, we're going to kind of break up, but stick around. There's food in the back. Get to know each other a little better. But before we do that, I want to do two things. One is to just one more time acknowledge our speakers and our panel tonight. And then what I'm going to invite us to do for just a few minutes is right where you are, turn and get yourselves into groups of 2 or 3, and just for a few minutes share what touched you tonight. What was it that you responded to, anything that got stimulated for you? So just turn around and get yourselves into groups of 2 or 3, and I'll tell you when to stop.